Hello and welcome everyone. This is the Humans of Pharma platform by Pharmaceutical Academy, and here we are with another inspirational pharma journey, direct Dilse, and where we'll be having a heart-to-heart conversation with a pharma leader. Today, everyone who is hearing me out, I am Madhav Gandhi, who will be taking you along for another inspirational pharma journey. Introducing our distinguished professional with over a decade and half of a prolific experience in pharmaceutical sales and marketing, Miss Parul Sood. She embodies the epitome of confidence, ambition, and performance-driven leadership within the dynamic realm of pharmaceutical markets. Currently serving as the General Manager, Sales and Marketing at Zydus Group, Miss Parul has left an inedible mark launching and managing flagship brands including groundbreaking Exemptia, the first ever biosimilar of adalimumab, and Bilypsa, a trailblazing new chemical entity by an Indian company. Her leadership extends beyond corporate borders as she passionately serves as the office bearer and lead of the Pharmaceutical Council at WICCI. Collaborating to advance interest and goals of the sector, Paru's journey is a testament to her unwavering commitment to creating and delivering value for patients, customers, and society. Her areas of interest span strategic management, business development, and people development. I'm starting on a casual note. How are you?
First of all, thank you very much for that generous introduction. I'm doing good, and it's a pleasure to be here today for this interaction.
Before I start with my usual questions about your pharma journey, can I know how a typical day in your life looks like?
But I think in every professional's life, especially who's into pharma sales and marketing, would be going about attending a lot of phone calls, attending to a lot of mails, meeting customers, and all of that. So a typical day for me, I think we usually say that our office day starts from 9, and while it might end at different times for different people, but I think the day starts right from the time you get up. I'm sure when you get up, you start thinking about work, you start thinking about what lies ahead for the day. What are the things you're going to achieve today? What are the milestones you're going to achieve? What are the tasks you're going to finish? So my day also typically involves around that, interacting with a lot of people, whether I'm at work or whether I'm in the field meeting customers, or whether I'm interacting with my own sales and marketing.
There's a lot of things going on in a pharmaceutical, especially in the sales and marketing area where all the time you have deadlines to meet.
And that is exactly what makes it all the more interesting.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. And I believe that pharma brand management and pharma sales and marketing is a completely different realm from all the sales and marketing happening in the world because there are so many regulations to come into picture, right? So
Absolutely.
challenges every now and then. Good to know, ma'am. So, ma'am, to begin with the session, here comes my first question to you. Ma'am, can you walk us through your journey in the pharmaceutical industry from your early roles to your current position in the Zydus Group?
Absolutely. So, I started off in this industry after I'm a pharmacy graduate, and I also did an MBA specializing in pharmaceutical management. I started off in this industry in the year 2010. And like a lot of other young professionals out there, I also had this aspiration to get into pharma marketing. I started off my career with an organization called InSwift, where it was practically my first exposure to brand management. I was very naive at that point of time and was there with that organization for a brief period. But in that brief period, I had the opportunity to work alongside some great people, learn the nuances of pharmaceutical marketing, interacting with the sales team, training them, getting to know customers, and what overall pharma marketing is all about. After that, I happened to move to another very interesting organization, Gland Pharma, which is now part of the erstwhile Fosun Group. I was there for a fairly long time, about 7 years. I joined as a brand manager. And by the time I left, I happened to grow very fast in the organization. I was heading the entire marketing team. I must say, my stint in Gland was marked by a lot of learnings. There were a couple of reasons for that primarily. First, the organization scaled up very rapidly during my tenure there. And, when you're part of a growing organization, when you're part of a relatively smaller organization, there's a lot of opportunity that you get to both learn as well as experiment with your thoughts. So you have exposure, which is not only into depth in your functional role, but also at a breadth level because you get to interact with a lot of stakeholders. So during my stint in Gland, while I joined in product management, I also rotated and had an opportunity to work in roles such as strategy, then business development, all of that. I was there handling, Gland is basically into critical care, critical cardiology, high-end anti-infectives, etc. And during my tenure there, we had a lot of significant marketing initiatives that were taken for the overall corporate image building of the organization, for launching a lot of new products. The role also involved liaising across a lot of different functions like sourcing, legal, supply chain, etc. And during my tenure there, I also had the opportunity to lead the project for their Salesforce automation. So that was about my role in Gland. And like I said, after that, I had yet another great opportunity in my career. After my stint in Gland, I moved on to Zydus Life Sciences, where I continue to work till date. I joined Zydus as the head of marketing for their specialty business in gastroenterology and hepatology. I joined in a team called Zydus Bionext. Again, had the wonderful opportunity to work alongside some brilliant minds. I've, been very fortunate in my career to have some really good mentors who've handheld me and ensured that I get the best learning and growth opportunities across my career. In Gland, I must say I had the opportunity to handle a lot of innovative products, a lot of challenges, but at the same time, even greater opportunities. So I joined Zydus as the head of marketing. I grew up the corporate ladder here at Zydus. After my stint as the head of marketing, I also took up an additional responsibility in sales. And once I gained sufficient exposure in sales, I took on a greater responsibility of leading the overall P&L responsibility of the division. So that's how my journey has been so far. Like I said, it's been marked with a lot of learning. Of course, there are challenges alongside, but I think I've taken every challenge that has come across my way as a stepping stone to success and made the best out of it.
Definitely, ma'am. It's really good to hear, and that's really inspirational that in a course of 13 years after you completed your education, you are leading an organization like Zydus in multiple roles. Good to hear that, ma'am. Ma'am, moving to our next question. How do you ensure that you continue to learn and grow on a personal level, and what new hobbies or interests have you picked up recently?
See, I believe, having a hobby outside of work is extremely important, and especially for working professionals. One, because hobbies, they help you break through the monotony of your professional life. It's always good to have something that you can get back to while you're not working. It helps you recalibrate your mind. And in engaging in something that you love, gives you a different level of peace and comfort at the mind level. So as far as my hobbies are concerned, I picked up gardening. I picked up gardening actually during COVID times. And I think a lot of us would have picked up that hobby at that point of time. But that's one thing that I've continued to have. I have a lot of plants at home, and spending the weekend taking care of my plants, ensuring that they're growing well, watching them grow, watching the flowers bloom. It's something that gives me a lot of pleasure. Besides this, while I'm not spending time at work, I like to network. I like to interact with new people. I like to explore, newer things that are not really part of the work. I like reading as well. I'm not a very avid reader, but I think I make sure and I try to read at least one meaningful book every month.
Okay. Ma'am, personal question. Are you into self-help books or like inspirational, motivational books? What kind of books do you prefer reading?
I'm not into self-help books exactly.
Okay.
I like fiction, but at
Oh,
the same time, I can share there have been some really good, like The Palace of Illusions was one book that I read recently, that was a kind of fiction story. But the
okay.
current book that I'm reading, it's a book called Leapfrog. It's
Oh,
by Professor Mukesh Sood, who's a very renowned ex-professor of IIM. That's
okay.
not exactly a self-help book, but it's not even a fiction book. So
Okay.
I don't have preference for any particular genre, but I like to keep it open. Anything that's interesting and meaningful would catch my attention.
Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing to know, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, moving to the next question. Given your experience with innovative products such as biosimilars and new chemical entities, how do you approach the marketing of products that are pioneering in the industry?
Well, I think the basic principles of marketing almost remain the same, whether you're handling an innovative product or whether you're handling a, kind of generic product. But yes, definitely when you're handling an innovative product, the stakes are higher. And the approach has to be much more strategic. When you're handling an innovative product, the expectations and the benchmarks are high. Often there are no benchmarks. If you are the first in the market, if there is no competition, then there is no benchmark. You have to define your own market. You have to define your own market. So when you're typically handling products like these, which have very unique features and where the emphasis is on highlighting the innovative part of the product, you always have to think a step ahead. You can't do something which is very typical. You have to have a very unique strategy that encompasses all the stakeholders. You have to make sure that the communication that you're doing is absolutely compliant to the regulatory framework, right? And at the same time, you have to have initiatives that help you foster collaborations with the overall healthcare network, which also includes networking and taking initiatives alongside policymakers, societies, etc., which are into that particular therapy. That lends a lot of credibility to the innovative product that you're handling. When we talk of, biosimilars, biologics, and such products, I think one core area that's been emerging very recently and very rightly for most organizations is patient centricity.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think not only Zydus, but a lot of organizations today believe, and they rightly believe in the fact that patients should be at the heart of all initiatives that we take. Because eventually, the whole purpose of bringing these innovative, groundbreaking products to the market is to be able to impact the patients' lives positively. So I think while that's important in every aspect of healthcare marketing, but especially when you're handling products that are unique, products that have the ability to make a great difference to a patient's life, you must ensure that whatever you're doing is in the interest of the patient.
Completely, definitely, ma'am. And I see a lot of buzz around patient centricity in the market. It's been I'm not working for a long time in the industry. It's been a few months, but patient centricity is one such topic which is completely and every time coming around my ears. So that's really good to know that there's a paradigm shift in the market going on. Okay.
The word, right, you said, is very much around. Everybody is using the words patient centricity, beyond the pill, patient support. But
Mm,
it's not only about using those words.
yes.
The key lies in executing, the key lies in implementation. Often, and we as marketers often fall into the trap. These buzzwords catch our attention. It stays
Mm,
around for some time. Probably an initiative or two is taken on these lines. But
mm.
then soon, once we get caught in the commercial cycle, it tends to slip out of our mind. I think that's one thing which, as marketers, we need to consciously make sure, because if patient centricity is at the heart of all you do, you are bound to have a very strategic and long term impact in your brand. And that is something I totally vouch for. It's something I've learned out of my experience of so many years.
That's good to hear, ma'am. Ma'am, like another question is kind of similar to this question. So, launching first of a kind drug like Bilypsa for NALD and NASH, how was your experience?
It was an amazing experience, I can say. I could not have asked for a better opportunity in this career, I believe. It's not often that one gets the opportunity to launch a new chemical entity. And this drug, Saroglitazar, the brand Bilypsa, it
Mm,
happens to be the first NC launched by any Indian company. I'd say I've been very fortunate to be associated with the journey of this product from the very beginning. While the product is amazing, it has amazing impact, on fatty liver patients. Launching this product, commercializing it in India, and being part of the growth journey for the last many years has given me so many learnings. It's truly broadened my horizon as a marketing professional. And I've realized that there is so much that one can do. It's not typically limited to the product promotion strategies that we formulate for doctors. But then marketing is so much. It is such a wide array, encompassing initiatives in the realm of creating awareness for patients, enhancing diagnosis, because a typical pharma marketer only tends to think, how can I go and promote my product to the doctor and get more prescriptions in turn. It's very rare that we think that, we can do something beyond that. So while handling Saroglitazar, I think I've had a great opportunity to try my hands in all the areas. We've been working very aggressively to create awareness about this disease overall, because, and I'm sure you would also agree, people
Yes,
tend
ma'am.
to take chronic diseases which affect organs like the heart, the lungs, the brain, etc. very seriously. But the liver, despite being the powerhouse of our body, is a kind of neglected or a secondary organ.
Yeah.
Often we think that liver diseases are mostly limited to people who consume alcohol. And most
Yes.
of the time, liver diseases are curable or they're not very serious. But that's the whole perspective that we are trying to change. That liver diseases also today are part of the overall metabolic dysfunction. And a liver disease like fatty liver disease, though it may appear to be non-serious, can be as serious as any other disease if not addressed at the right time. So working on this front, helping to create awareness, making people aware, not just about our drug, but about the fact that if they exercise healthy options in, as far as their lifestyle is concerned, they can actually prevent this from happening. So working on the awareness front, bringing newer modes of diagnosis to India, then, while we interact with the doctors, it's a great delight to be able to share information about a product which has been, conceptualized by Zydus, launched by Zydus. You always don't have that opportunity to talk about something which nobody else can talk about. So overall, I'd say it's been a great learning experience. Besides the work that we've done in India, we've also had the wonderful opportunity to collaborate with patient advocacy groups and KOLs from across the globe. So all in all, the journey has been amazing and the learning experience has been totally unmatched.
Definitely, ma'am. And ma'am, as far as my knowledge extends, NASH and NAFLD are some of the most emerging disease trends in India because the younger generation is getting tapped into it more and more because of the dietary habits, right? Because one of our professors in the college taught us about it, and it was really at that point of time it was really shocking to know about the disease. As like pharma students, fresher pharma students, we always had in our mind that if anything is associated with the liver, it has to do with drug
Alcohol.
toxicity and alcohol.
Yeah.
And how can diet be responsible, specifically carbohydrates, be responsible for creating NAFLA, like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? And how can a liver become fatty because of diet? And the case studies were really important at that point, and I'm like able to completely relate to your point you're trying to make
And
here.
that's exactly the area where we've been working, for the last few years. That liver is as important as your heart, and that, liver diseases can have nothing to do with alcohol at all. You'll be surprised to know, Madhav, it says, there are studies that say that 1 in 3 individuals or 1 in 4 individuals in India could be at risk of fatty liver disease. Now,
Yes,
you translate that and multiply it by the population of India, you'll realize that the burden is humongous.
yes,
Yet, many of us, even after getting a positive report for fatty liver disease, tend to believe that, okay, it's just something very non-serious and it'll be fine with the passage of time. Of course, I don't mean to scare anybody. Most of the cases do resolve with, healthy lifestyle. But all that I want to convey is that being consciously aware about liver health is extremely important.
yes, ma'am. And ma'am, as you said, as a part of patient centricity, I believe that while execution part is coming up with the patient centricity concept, it's important that the patients are rightly educated and made aware at the right.
Yes.
Yes. I'm moving to the next question. Can you share a specific instance where you felt a deep sense of personal fulfillment, whether be it personal or like professional, related to professional career? Anything, any moment.
I'd be happy to share both.
Okay.
Uh, personal fulfillment happens when you've set a certain milestone or a certain goal for yourself. I think my whole career has given me a sense of personal fulfillment. Uh, I'm very satisfied the way I've made career choices for myself, whether it is working for small and medium sized organizations or big houses, corporate houses like Zydus. every time that I've grown within my career or been recognized for any good work that I have done, or whether when I've had the opportunity to recognize my team for a good work that they've done, I've always had that sense of personal fulfillment. And as far as professional fulfillment is concerned, I'd like to share a beautiful example with you. Once while I was in field work and was interacting with a very renowned gastroenterologist, he was seeing one of the patients. The patient was a young adolescent girl, about 14, 15 years, and she was a patient of Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is again a subset of IBD. IBD is inflammatory bowel disease.
Yeah.
One tends to have, if I were to explain it in layman language, bloody stools and a lot of intestinal discomfort in that disease. It also tends to make you very weak.
Yeah.
And while I was at the doctor, there was this patient alongside her parents. She'd been regularly taking one of our medicines.
Okay.
So, like I said, when we believe in patient centricity, we also have to listen to the patients to understand whether we are serving them right or not. So the doctor, introduced us to her and her parents, and they shared that how the girl, had actually stopped going to school because of the suffering that was happening to her, how she'd started alienating herself from her school friends and had become more inward looking. But after taking the particular medicine, she started feeling much better. She'd gained body weight, the disease was in control, her confidence was bouncing back. I think that moment was very, very powerful and impactful, because in that moment, me alongside our entire sales team, we got such a great feeling of fulfillment, and we realized that there is nothing better than realizing that everything that you're doing is making an impact and it's making a difference to somebody's life. So that was one moment early on during my days in Zydus that I'll never forget. And that was one incident which always, keeps me grounded and centered towards patients, to be able to make a difference to people's lives on a daily basis.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I would like to share experience over here because being in the healthcare industry, I feel very good and very grateful that I'm in the healthcare industry because in the final year of my bachelor's in pharmacy, I was also able to work in the public health domain. And over there, I rightly observed that uh, no matter how you're contributing to improving patients' health, but a larger aspect of improvement is in the social aspects of a person's
Yes.
well-being, and which is very important in a culture, in a cultural country like India. The social aspects are very important for a person if he or she is suffering from any disease. So if that is being improved, I think most of the diseases are cured that way only.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think it's not only professionally that you can make a difference to people. While I was in college, during the days I was at Punjab University, I was also very actively involved with an NGO.
Yes.
There was an NGO called Youth United. When we were young, we had time at hand, unlike, the busy schedule that we're living now during our corporate life. But
Yeah.
I think even during that time, me, my friends, and, the entire team that we had a wonderful opportunity to be able to make a difference.
Hmm.
There were so many initiatives that we took, I remember, that were focused on the overall education of the girl child, on raising awareness about people with disability, how they should be provided equal opportunities, and about female feticide, which was a very chronic and still continues to be a chronic issue in many parts of our country and especially in Punjab.
Yeah.
So I think right from early on days, I have had that kind of inclination. And I'd consider myself to be blessed because having an inclination is one thing, but then you also need to have the right kind of opportunities. And in my case, I think I've had a lot of opportunities to be able to make a difference.
And now, like I would like to say that because of that early exposure of being connected to patients or say public in general, uh, your complete career orientation is around uh, patient
It
centricity.
helps. Yes,
Yeah,
it does. It does help.
yeah. Amazing to know, ma'am. That was a really amazing question I asked, and your answers were really on point. Ma'am,
Thank you.
my another question is, can you share an example of a challenging situation where your leadership skills were put to the test and how you navigated through it with your team?
Well, I think not had a lot of challenges in the recent past, but one challenging situation that I can recall of, and I think it must have been a challenging situation not only for me, but a lot of leaders, managers across industries, not just in pharma industry. And that was when we were in the middle of the pandemic.
Okay.
You would agree that, we are in the healthcare sector. So
Hmm.
while everything and a lot of times, a lot of things came to a standstill during the pandemic, but the healthcare business did not, right? And it could not have come because that was the time when all of us had to rise to the occasion and showcase our metal even more. That was the time actually when, hybrid mode of working started coming in.
Hmm.
And as a leader, I think that was a challenging time for us. It was a challenging time for many people, both at a personal level as well as at a professional level.
Hmm.
Salespeople are typically people who are used to be out there in the field on a daily basis. During the lockdown, they were at home, but we also had to ensure that business must go on as usual. That was also the time when a lot of people had to upskill themselves as far as digital technology is concerned. There were a lot of new skills that you had to learn, and you had to learn them with a lot of agility and speed, because time was the key during that time. So
Yes.
I think that was one challenging time that I faced. The challenge being ensuring that, all the operations continue to happen seamlessly, even while employees are working in a remote manner.
Hmm.
They all should feel that sense of security, because when we're working from home, while we may have things to be done, we don't know what the other person is going through at a personal level. So I think showcasing that empathy at that point of time and making sure that the team is connected, the team is still united, one, and we continue to deliver on our overall objectives. That was one challenge, but I think we were able to navigate that well.
Okay. Good to hear that, ma'am. COVID experiences are like very challenging to everyone, students,
Yes.
professionals, everyone. That was the time that we never expected, and someone would never expect to come again. Ma'am, my next question is, with your interest in training and people development, how do you approach the continuous learning and development of your team members?
I think I've been managing people for more than a decade now.
Hmm.
I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of people, and whether I've been able to do that well or not would be something for my team to decide. But I'd like to share a couple of things that I do from my end.
Hmm.
First of all, I make sure to encourage, a culture of open learning. I think one thing that, and I think when you have to give a message to your team, it has to begin by leading from the front, because a lot of times team members tend to emulate what their manager does. They try to look for similarities and they try to pick up things from you. So when
Hmm.
I say that you have to learn continuously, I also have to demonstrate that in my own actions. I have to be a constant and an open minded learner to ensure that my team is also able, to follow the same path. The next important thing that I do to ensure a culture of continuous learning is that I'm very clear in my communication with my team. And I believe it's something that every manager should practice. We all have expectations, we all have, results to be delivered. But
Hmm.
what is very important if you want your team to be successful is first you have to set the expectations straight. You have to tell what is your expectation, what has to be delivered, how it has to be delivered, and what's the timeline that you're looking for the work to be delivered in. And then you also need to understand, where you might need to chip in. Besides this, when you want something to be done by your team, you also have to be able to provide them the necessary support as well as the resources. I cannot expect to, tie their hands, not provide them with sufficient resources and guidance, and still continue to deliver on that work. So I think these are some things that I regularly practice. And another thing that I regularly do, and I believe we all should do, is giving feedback on the go. I usually don't reserve feedback for special occasions like appraisals, etc., etc.
Hmm.
I believe if somebody has done something good, they must be appreciated instantly. And if there's some feedback to be given for their overall well being, that must also be given in the moment so that they can improvise on the go. These are some things that I do. And I also try to encourage them to, leverage the power of networking. to grow, because while it's definitely my onus to ensure that my team grows, my team has the right learning opportunities, but I think there is a lot that they can learn from the environment, from their peers, from their industry colleagues. So this is something I always encourage everyone, and I would like to recommend everyone that, be open for learning, not just from your immediate office environment or from your managers, but consider the overall industry and the professional network as an opportunity to learn.
Definitely, ma'am. Point taken. Moving to the next question. Considering the rapidly evolving pharmaceutical industry, what trends do you foresee in the gastroenterology and hepatology space?
Well, I think a lot of new things are coming up, and it's not specific to gastroenterology and hepatology as such, but I guess across therapies, now the application of artificial intelligence is scaling up rapidly.
Yeah.
Two key things to watch out for in this therapy, I think, would be the application of artificial intelligence and the trend of precision medicine that is coming up. So while today in most of the therapies, we have we have medicines that doctors prescribe to the patients. I think the future is going to be very, very exciting, because there's going to be an era of personalized medicine that's going to come up. Technology has already invaded our lives in a very great way, and I think it's going to become even more important in the days to come. Doctors are going to rely heavily on technology, not just for diagnosing people, but also for predicting the overall course of the disease. Technology could give you a lot more accurate idea about the prognosis of a particular disease than what a human being may be able to predict otherwise, which I think is a very exciting era to watch out for. And then personalized medicine would allow them to customize the medicines, as per the individual need. What more would you want? When every prescription of the doctor is personalized to your disease, obviously we know the outcomes are going to be much better. So the application of AI and precision medicine is something, that I foresee will be making a great impact in the days to come.
Okay, ma'am. AI is a reality now. Yeah.
Yeah, AI is a real thing. I think nobody can manage to stay aloof, from the implications and applications of AI. And the sooner we embrace it, the better it is for all of us.
Definitely. Definitely, ma'am. Ma'am, looking ahead, what excites you the most about the future of healthcare, and what would be the words of wisdom for the beginners in the pharma industry like me? Yeah.
Well, the healthcare industry is something, that will always continue to be relevant. Every other industry might be in a certain phase, somebody may be in a mature phase, somebody may be in a growth phase. There may be some industries which might be in a declining phase, but I think the healthcare industry is an industry which is always going to be in a growing phase. And that is what makes it very, very exciting. It's not a good thing, but the burden of diseases is expected to rise. We already discussed, there's a lot of research, innovation happening in India by Indian companies now. So we know the future of healthcare marketing and overall pharma marketing is definitely very exciting. And it's going to present us with a lot of opportunities. The way things were being done 20 years ago, they're no longer being done in the same manner now. In fact, forget 20 years. I think the generations and the way we do things are changing every 5 years, if I can say that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
obviously the future is very exciting. And my, one message to all youngsters looking forward to enter this field would be that, enter with an open mind. Often when we're in college, we tend to fix our minds to certain fields where we would like to go. Like I remember, and I'm sure many of us would have wanted to become doctors. Coming into pharma may not have been an obvious choice for many. And once we're into pharma marketing, many of us fix our minds. Some of us become very rigid that no, we want to go into the research and development side. Some of us only want to go into product management. Some of us only want to go into sales. But I'd like to tell all the youngsters that the entire pharma and healthcare realm, it offers a lot of opportunities. So in your initial days, it's important to enter the industry with an open mind. Of course, you may have your preferences for joining a particular stream and you should work towards that stream. but it's very important to enter the industry with an open mind and learn continuously. So once you do that, maybe in the initial years you'll be able to identify where is your skill set most suited for, and then you'll be able to make the most of it. And I think one more advice that I'd like to give is, it's always good to keep yourself updated about the latest trends about the industry in which you're planning to enter. And for that, you can't rely only on books or only on Google. You have to keep your eyes and ears open. The healthcare and pharma industry is such that the impact and the presence is everywhere.
Yeah.
We all take medicines at home, but not all of us would know everything about the medicines also that we take.
Yeah.
So I think learning begins from here. To all the youngsters planning to enter this industry, we look forward to welcoming you. The future is great. Just make sure that you're learning at all times.
Definitely, ma'am. That's really a wonderful point over here. And thank you so much for all your wonderful answers. This was the last question to ask from you. And thank you so much for joining us, ma'am, today. Any questions you want to ask from me, ma'am?
No, thank you so much for that lovely interaction, Madhav.
Thank
I
you.
must say you've been a wonderful host, and I didn't come to know, time just flew like a breeze. I hope I was able to answer your questions, and you find the
Yes, ma'am.
interaction meaningful.
Definitely, ma'am. The interaction was quite meaningful. So, with this, I would like to end the session. And everyone who is watching, I hope you enjoy this episode. Reach out to us for any suggestions in the comment box below. Bye bye. Thank you so much.